From Scripps Sports, this is Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into this week's episode of the Griz Insider here on the Montana Television Network. Alongside the voice of the Griz, Riley Corcoran, I'm Kyle Hansen, a very happy Riley Corcoran, because the Los Angeles Dodgers are back-to-back World Series champions. First of all, before we get into that, what a game. That was awesome.
What a game, what a series. I mean, you want to script out my perfect day. I think Saturday was with the Griz getting back and then watching that epic Game 7. So appreciate in the A block getting the Dodgers in there.
Yes.
But it's always fun when you follow your team for 180 games and they end up winning the World Series. It was the cherry on top.
When we're both in our 70s doing this show, and we'll talk about the other LA team winning a World Series, my favorite team, I look forward to it very much.
Maybe in the 60s.
Maybe in the 60s.
Yeah,
I love
we
it.
got that.
Hey, shout out to Shohei Ohtani. We love him just the same. The Montana Grizzlies improved to 9-0 over the weekend as well with a 38-17 win over Weber State. And Riley, weird game and kind of an odd game, obviously, but you know it's always fun when these two old rivals clash against one another. And Montana obviously really hot out of that first half.
Yeah, they really were. I mean, they came out of the gates with the back-to-back road games, and they said, we don't need a slow start here today. But you're right as far as these two charter members of the Big Sky, 2 of the 6, but yet they've only played 6 times in the last 11 years after playing 52 consecutive years. So a bit bizarre with that being the case, and obviously the streak of not winning on the road, that was hanging over the team a bit too, where they knew they wanted to get off to a fast start. And my goodness, Kyle, from the opening play to force a fumble, 3 plays later to score a touchdown, you can't script a better start. Looking up at the second quarter scoreboard with 12 minutes to go, and it's already 28-3. It kind of set the tone for the game to where the second half was a bit bizarre, and I know we're going to get into all of it here, but yeah, a unique game, but one where Montana never lost control of it.
100%. And you look at the guys who contributed, right, where you get Blake Bohannon having a career day with him, 3 catches, 131 yards, and a touchdown. A couple of huge plays, too, on his receptions. Brooks Davis with some big plays as well. Eli Gilman eclipsing the 3,000 career yards mark. Haley Iayat once again solid. Defensively also settling in, too, because Weber State, some long drives. They had that long touchdown drive in the first half, but once they settled in, they kind of dominated from there.
I think so, and I think for the people that have followed this Grizzly team all year like we have, it's easy maybe to nitpick quarters and halves of where they didn't bring their best, but collectively, they're second best in the Big Sky as far as scoring defense is concerned, and to hold Weber State to 17 points, to make them one-dimensional early, I thought was really big, and to see how much they rotated was huge for, I think, the program and the team for where they're at in this circumstance. 9 games, 9 weeks, and now you're getting to the stretch run of the season. So it was collectively great, I think, on the defensive side, to where you never were worried that Weber State was going to bust one loose.
31-10 at halftime, and obviously, as you mentioned, weird second half because there were some ebbs and flows and very slow, right? Both teams kind of feeling each other out. Montana obviously subs out a lot of their players. We saw a lot of guys get in the game who don't normally play a lot, but I also thought it was interesting with Weber State making the quarterback switch to Kingston Tisdale. And, the Grizzlies, to their credit, after they scored, settled in nicely against a quarterback only making his second appearance of the season. Not a lot of film on him in college.
Not a lot of film at all, and a ton of talent. I mean, he was able to sling it, kind of let it rip in a situation where it was nothing to lose. And I think that you could see that a bit. The Grizzlies were able to adjust after they did get that one score. But how about some of the names that we were able to see out there in the fourth quarter? I know it was fun for both the radio and the TV broadcast to go through some of the fun stories. The Beaner brothers on the field at the same time and to be lined up next to each other. Can't imagine how their parents were feeling, right? Just an immense sense of pride and something that we can follow here throughout their careers. But also a glimpse at the future, and also to try and protect this team for again, the stretch run with 9 games in 9 weeks.
100%. Malai Finoti getting some run in there as well. Tanner Huff getting some more run on defense, which is always fun to see. Jelani Davis. And as you mentioned, just nice seeing those guys because it is the future, right? And obviously, with the Griz, fans, like you said, will nitpick it, but a win's a win at the end of the day.
A win's a win, and especially on the road, to go 3-0 on the road and to continue to just keep the momentum rolling on a wild day in the FCS, which we're going to talk about later in the show. Getting a win, surviving and advancing. It's the month of November. Things get crazy. Coach Hauck, a pretty impressive record that we'll talk to him on the other side of the break.
A win's a win, and that's all that matters, and we have a great show coming for you here on the Griz Insider. After the break, Riley will catch up with Coach Hauck, and after that, we'll catch up with wide receiver Blake Bohannon.
Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
Welcome back to the Griz Insider. Another Saturday and another Grizzly victory. Here to talk about it, head football coach Bobby Hauck. Your team improves to 9-0 on a weekend of pandemonium in the FCS, and you guys are able to survive it, now up to number 2 in the country. Just your overall thoughts, coach, from going down to Weber State and getting that elusive win. I know it had been talked about. This was a new team this year, but not getting a win there since 2012. Big for the Montana Grizzlies.
Yeah, kind of hard to believe a little bit. And you know, as you mentioned, FCS, FBS, it was a wild weekend. A lot of unbeaten teams getting taken down. A lot of teams that were heavily favored getting taken down. And the Grizzlies went down and took care of business, and I was enthused with that, certainly. Yeah,
you did. Certainly early in the game, from the first 4 plays of the game, forcing a turnover, getting a touchdown in there. 12 minutes left in the second quarter. It was 28-3. Before we talk about the game at all, just the preparation throughout the course of the week. It's consecutive road games. You guys have been able now, coach, in 5 times where you've had consecutive road games in conference. You've went 2-0 4 times. So you've been able to manage it very well. Talk about the practice preparation throughout the week to prepare to going on the road again.
Yeah, well, you know, the first quarter, it's kind of like if you had the ability to draw it up, that's how you do it. And, you know, it was a good start to the game, but back to the second part of your question, you know, it doesn't matter where you play. We kind of think we should win any given Saturday or have a chance to win, and that means you're going to have to win on the road, and we've done that the last 2 weeks and done so convincingly.
Well, let's talk about the offense, especially out of the gates, right? You get the takeaway on defense, and the offense did the rest of the work, it seemed, in the first half. They had the ball for just 9 minutes, so we'll have fun with time of possession throughout the course of the week, but at the same time, you racked up a ton of yards, put points on the board. What'd you like most of how efficient your offense was in the first half?
Well, you know, you get that many points that fast, the offense is operating well. Certainly defer, kickoff, take the ball from them on the first play of the game, and then in the end zone 3 plays later is a great way to start the game. Wish we could do it every week.
Well, we'll see if we can chalk that up this week against East Washington as well, Coach. You look at the defensive side of things and just solid, consistent all year long, and I think that, yes, you could go and look at a quarter here, a quarter there, but collectively you guys have been really good defensively. Second best scoring defense in the Big Sky Conference, and never felt like Weber State had much of a chance for explosive plays on Saturday. What was your takeaway from your defensive effort?
Yeah, it was good. The effort level was great. You know, we penalized ourselves, and that's how they got points on the board in the first half. That's the only way. And, you know, you got to clean that up. It's not what you want as the head coach or frankly, as a player. That'll be better. We had 0 penalties last week. That was one-off, I hope. We'll continue to address that. But our defense played really well. They've been playing great. As I mentioned a week ago, I could have done without the 2 late scores down in Sacramento. But, you know, when you get that in the rearview mirror, those numbers count against you, but they really aren't affecting the game. And our defense has played well.
They really have, and we saw a ton of names and ton of people out there in the second half, Coach. How valuable is it each and every time that you're able to roll through? And I know you roll through your depth chart pretty much every single game, but in particular in the second half, we saw some fun stories, the Beaner brothers out there at the same time, and just all the way down the list. It had to be great for you to get everyone in there.
Well, the opportunity to give guys playing experience is invaluable. You get better by playing. Getting out there and having to perform in a live Division I football game is a big deal, especially for those young guys. And it's a learning experience for all of them, and I thought they acquitted themselves pretty well.
Absolutely, Coach. And we have Blake Bohannon coming in here for the next segment. Just talk about Blake, how he got here, of course, to Montana, but more importantly, his impact on the field. He has been a valuable piece in that wide receiver room here this year.
Blake's a great dude. What a great addition to our team. You know, I've known his parents, and so that was kind of the connection. He's actually playing for his dad at Kennesaw, and when he went in the transfer portal, then we were all over that because we knew who he was, we knew what he was about, and he's been a big help to our team this season.
First touchdown as a Montana Grizzly. Final question for you. Eastern Washington comes to town here this week. Tough one for them last week against Sacramento State, but they've also shown signs of what they're capable of this year. Just the early look on Eastern Washington coming here for the first home game in November.
Yeah, they're playing really much better recently. I think they've won 3 of their last 4 and 4 of their last 6. I think that's what the number is. You catch me off guard a little bit, but I think I'm pretty close to accurate. It's always a big game. It's always a tough, hard-fought game, and we'll have a good week of preparation, hopefully do our best, and I can't believe we've got 9 wins. We're in November, and we're looking for our 10th.
It'll be crazy to see, and hopefully Montana can improve to 10-0 this week against Eastern Washington. Have a great show lined up for you. Blake Bohannon joins Kyle Hansen on the other side of the break here on the Griz Insider.
Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
Welcome back into the Griz Insider, and we're very excited to be joined by senior wide receiver Blake Bohannon, who we were just talking off camera in a little bit, finally found the end zone. It's been a little bit of a dry spell for you.
Yeah, it was.
What a game, though, for you yesterday, Blake, and obviously 3 catches, 131 yards, and one touchdown. To speak to what that was like, and then obviously getting that score there as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great feeling being able to get in the end zone. It was awesome. Just Kaylee threw me a great ball. Offensive line protected well. It was great all around. It was great to find the end zone. It was surreal. It was a surreal feeling. I didn't score last year, so this is my first touchdown in a while, so it was awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, you couldn't have been more wide open too. What were you seeing? And I mean, you were probably just like, hey, just don't drop it, right?
Yeah, for real. When I passed the DB and I was like, oh, like I'm so open. I need to get the ball right here. And Kaylee threw a great ball, hit me in stride, and got to the end zone from there. So it was awesome.
We talked a little bit after the game, obviously, you know, a little bit of injury this year, but for you to define the end zone and kind of get that moment was kind of seemed like an emotional celebration for you and maybe some relief as well. Can you just speak what that was like and maybe kind of seeing all that hard work and some of the trials and tribulations pay off?
Yeah, it was tough coming back off an injury. I missed 2 games, which I hate missing any type of football, so that really stunk, but being able to get in the rehab, get in the training room, all that, and get back and being able to be back on the field and get in the end zone, it was an awesome feeling. It was definitely emotional for me because it's been something I wanted to do here for a while. So yeah, it was awesome.
And you got it done, no doubt about it. The other catch did you get any grief about almost stumbling on the other one you were wide open on?
Yeah, some of my teammates were like, "Get that trailer off the back of you." But found a way to catch it and get some yards after the catch, so it was good.
It was a great play, no doubt about it. You know, Blake, obviously a big win for the Grizzlies, beating Weber State. It's a kind of an old rival for Montana, and you guys improving to 9-0. Just you know, a couple days afterwards, just how does it feel to get that? You know, just keep this train rolling. How's the 9-0 feeling right now at Montana?
Oh, it feels great to be 9-0. You know, it's on to the next one. Weber was a good team. Eastern Washington we got coming up this week. They're a good team too. So we got to keep relying on our game plan, relying on our teammates, relying on just our practice and preparedness for the games. So yeah.
So you're football all the time. You know, your dad, Brian Bohannon, longtime college football coach at Kennesaw State. He's at Georgia Tech right now. You know, I know football is just kind of in your DNA. How did you end up finding Montana after a career at Kennesaw State? And, you know, you came here to do your last year of college football. I mean, A, I guess it's a 2-part question. A, how's it been? But B, how did you end up finding the Griz?
One, playing for the Griz is awesome. I remember the first time I ran out of the tunnel, we were playing Central Washington, our first home game, and I saw the north end zone. I was like, wow. This is crazy. It's insane. It was packed out. I mean, it was a blackout too, so the crowd was unbelievable. It gets really noisy in there too, which is awesome. I would hate to be the opponent playing in Washington Grizzly, but it's awesome playing for the Griz. How'd I get here? I've always known of Montana. I mean, I've known football my whole life. I mean, I played in the FCS, so I know Montana's a huge name in the FCS world. I love it out west. I love the mountains, so. When Coach Norcross, the O-line coach, was at Kennesaw last year when I was there, he came up here, reached out to me about the opportunity to come play, and I was like, oh, no doubt, I want to come see what it's like up there. Came on a visit, loved it, loved the coaches, loved the environment. I mean, it's been awesome.
When you'd been at Kennesaw State, obviously your whole career, what was the adjustment period like here? Because not only are you coming to a new school, I mean, you moved across the entire country. I mean, like as far as like anybody's going to come play at Montana, what was that adjustment like? And obviously on the field, off the field for you coming to Missoula?
Off the field, it was an adjustment because I was like 20 minutes from home at Kennesaw, and now I'm like, I don't know, 46 hours, whatever it is, from home.
A couple thousand miles, right?
Yeah, literally. So that was an adjustment. You know, I miss home, but I mean, playing for the Griz is awesome. I got great teammates, great friends, great coaches. So a bunch of people have my back here. So that part's good. And
you touched on it too, obviously. You don't want to miss any football, right? So kind of dealing with some of the challenges of that injury against Indiana State, working your way back to play in the homecoming game against Cal Poly. What was that like, and just how, you know, I guess fortifying has it been to see your work pay off and that you're also back contributing and, you know, you powered through, you know, a pretty challenging injury?
Yeah, it was awesome. I didn't expect to be back so early. I think I really went to work on my rehab, really went to work on just trying to get my knee back right. And it was awesome being able to come back and play just after 2 weeks of that injury because I didn't know what that injury meant when it happened. I was scared to be honest, but it was great to see like all my hard work pay off and finally getting in the end zone against Weber.
It was fun to watch, and congratulations to you, and I appreciate you coming on the Griz Insider.
Yeah, appreciate you. Go Griz.
Absolutely. Coming up, Riley will rejoin me as we look ahead to Eastern Washington for Montana.
Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertson Safeway.
Well, Saturday might have been November 1st, but spooky season stuck around a little bit longer in the FCS because, Riley, teams were haunting each other because 4 of the top 8 in the FCS went down, and we got a chance to catch the end of some of those games on the way back from Ogden. Absolutely insane watching the shakeup, and obviously Griz, Cats, Bison, and Lehigh, the ones who survived through all this.
What a wild day, and the way that the games kind of coincided with each other with the kickoff times, we were able to be right in the middle of the action when the Grizzlies win, and even in the second half, as we talked about earlier in the show, when the Grizzly game was not really in doubt, but at the same time just going back and forth, that's when all of these other games were heating up a little bit. And I don't know where we even want to start, but South Dakota State losing to Indiana State was probably the biggest shocker of them all. North Dakota got caught looking ahead. I think at North Dakota State, they fall to South Dakota by just 5 points. That's probably the best loss of the 4, if there is such a thing. But I think the Missouri Valley shakeup is really what's going to have that trickle-down effect through ever. But how about Indiana State beating South Dakota State? Unbelievable stuff.
Great job by Kurt Mallory and his staff. You know, we had a lot of fun working with them on the broadcast when they were here. And, you know, it's kind of a fun bond when you see the Griz play them a couple times the last several years. He's worked so hard at that job. It's not an easy place to coach. It's a big-time basketball school with a lot of tradition there. And to get that win on the road against South Dakota State, who's now lost 2 in a row at home after getting blown out by the Bison last week. And then obviously Tarleton State at number 2. That was the last one that went down, losing on a game-winning field goal. How about that?
And that was something that you and I were watching side by side on the bus on our little 6-inch screen. But it was so much fun and a wild game back and forth. And not only did Tarleton lose their perfect record, lose their number 2 ranking, at least for now, they might not win their conference because if Abilene Christian wins out, they're the ones that are in control of their own destiny. So the question of where you put Abilene Christian, where you put Tarleton State now, going to be so fascinating with the shakeup nationally in the FCS.
And one thing you called earlier this year, obviously Idaho State. Obviously, Cody Hawkins and his squad and that high-powered offense. I mean, look what they did to Montana, taking down UC Davis as well on the road, again, and getting that done at the very end. Obviously, it ended on an interception, so shout out to the Bengal defense. But what a huge shakeup in the Big Sky as well for Davis to go down with the Cats still on their schedule.
That was huge, and I think one that when we left Pocatello, I know people probably thought we were crazy at the time. We said, hey, Idaho State is going to beat someone. They're going to upset someone. How about the Dan Hawkins angle, too? Going back to UC Davis and getting the win and maybe wrecking their season. You look at Davis's schedule now, the narrative drastically shifts. They play at Idaho, at Montana State, and then the rivalry game against Sacramento State. So they've got a lot of things in play, but for the Big Sky Conference race in particular, 2 teams now have risen to the top. UC Davis is in must-win mode all the way out, but there are 2 teams that are glaringly ahead of everyone else and why they're number 2 and number 3 in the poll this week.
The Big Sky Conference with some craziness as well. Portland State getting their first win of the season, and then Idaho winning a thriller over NAU on the road as well. And let's go ahead and take a quick look at Eastern Washington, Montana's opponent this week. Obviously, Eagles were playing in pretty much a playoff eliminator last week against Sacramento State, and the Hornets blow them out 35-13. So Eastern kind of playing for pride at this point. It's another one of these old rivals that a lot of us from the 2000s enjoyed watching. So Aaron Best and his crew usually are prepared, and this is a big game they get up for, but we'll be curious how this one goes after that loss.
How much wind is left in the sails of Eastern Washington? I think that we saw the effect last week with Weber State, that they were a bit deflated. A lot of that had to do with injuries, but the fact when you get eliminated from the playoff race, there's just something about the mental psyche, and I'm curious how Eastern comes in here, especially with how the last couple of games have gone against Montana, one a massive blowout, then the most previous one, a close shootout game. So it'll be interesting to see, but Eastern Washington, a team that the defensive numbers have been better, the offensive numbers have been down, so it'll be an interesting matchup on Saturday.
Going to be a lot of fun on Saturday when the Eagles and the Grizzlies line it up. We'll go ahead and wrap up the Griz Insider after this. Well, as we wrap things up here on the Griz Insider, Riley, some teams have just started their seasons and some teams are closing their seasons here in Missoula for a big week.
Yeah, it's the busiest month of the year for Grizzly Athletics. Crossover seasons here. Strong start to the season for the Griz and Lady Griz. Excited to learn more about these teams down the road. But as we pivot to this weekend, it's just a massive one here in Missoula. Everyone caught their collective breath, I think, last week to gear up for the soccer tournament. Of course, Grizzly Soccer trying to make the Big Sky Championship match for the first time in 4 years. Great regular season success. Now can it transfer over to this tournament? They'll play Friday at 2 o'clock. Of course, Grizzly volleyball on the road in Bozeman, needing to get revenge a bit for that five-set loss here and a 2-match losing streak. Then Grizzly football Saturday against Eastern Washington, another regional rival coming to town.
Going to be a lot of fun as the Grizzly football team is looking to become 10-0. And of course, Riley's got your call on the Grizzly Radio Network, and Scripps Sports will carry your broadcast with the kickoff at 1 p.m. And as always, we'll break it down on the Griz Insider next week. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.